Lake Powell is an artificial reservoir on the Colorado River in Utah and Arizona, United States. It is a major vacation spot visited by approximately 2 million people every year. It is the second largest artificial reservoir by maximum water capacity in the United States behind Lake Mead, storing 25,166,000 acre-feet of water when full. However, Lake Mead has fallen below Lake Powell in size several times during the 21st century, in terms of volume of water, depth and surface area. Lake Powell was created by the flooding of Glen Canyon by the Glen Canyon Dam, which also led to the 1972 creation of Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, a popular summer destination of public land managed by the National Park Service. The reservoir is named for John Wesley Powell, a Civil War veteran who explored the river via 3 wooden boats in 1869. It primarily lies in parts of Garfield, Kane, and San Juan counties in southern Utah, with a small portion in Coconino County in northern Arizona. The northern limits of the lake extend at least as far as the Height Crossing Bridge. Lake Powell is a water storage facility for the upper basin states of the Colorado River Compact, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming and New Mexico. The compact specifies that the upper basin states are to provide a minimum annual flow of 7,500,000 acre-feet to the lower basin states, Arizona, Nevada, and California. In the 1940s and early 1950s, the United States Bureau of Reclamation planned to construct a series of Colorado River dams in the rugged Colorado Plateau province of Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. Glen Canyon Dam was born of a controversial dam site the Bureau selected in Echo Park, in what is now Dinosaur National Monument in Colorado. A small but politically effective group of objectors, led by David Brower of the Sierra Club, succeeded in defeating the Bureau's bid, citing Echo Park's natural and scenic qualities as too valuable to submerge. By agreeing to relocate a dam site near Lee's Ferry between Glen and Grand Canyons, however, Brower did not realize what he had traded away. At the time, Brower had not actually been to Glen Canyon. When he later saw Glen Canyon on a river trip, Brower discovered that it had the kind of scenic, cultural, and wilderness qualities often associated with America's national parks. Over 80 side canyons in the colorful Navajo sandstone contained clear streams, abundant wildlife, arches, natural bridges, and numerous Native American archaeological sites. By then, however, it was too late to stop the Bureau and its commissioner Floyd Dominy from building Glen Canyon Dam. Brower believed the river should remain free, and would forever after consider the loss of Glen Canyon his life's ultimate disappointment. Glen Canyon Dam was built to solve the downstream delivery obligations of the upper basin states. Lake Powell is an aquatic bank built to fulfill the terms of the compact calls of lower basin. If the compact had required the upper basin to deliver half the flow of the Colorado in low water years, rather than a fixed amount, the burden of drought would have been spread equally between the basins, and there would have been no need to build the dam. It is ironic that the lake is named after John Wesley Powell, who planned to settle the West based on the facts of hydrology, not politics. Construction on Glen Canyon Dam began with a demolition blast, keyed by the push of a button by President Dwight D. Eisenhower at his desk in the Oval Office on October 1, 1956. The first blast started clearing tunnels for water diversion. On February 11, 1959, water was diverted through the tunnels so dam construction could begin. Later that year, the bridge was completed, allowing trucks to deliver equipment and materials for the dam, and also for the new town of Page, Arizona. Concrete placement started around the clock on June 17, 1960. The last bucket of concrete was poured on September 13, 1963. Over 5 million cubic yards soft concrete make up Glen Canyon Dam. The dam is 710 feet high, and the surface elevation of the water at full pool is approximately 3,700 feet. Construction of the dam cost $155 million, and 18 lives were lost in the process. From 1970 to 1980, turbines and generators were installed for hydroelectricity. On September 22, 1966, Glen Canyon Dam was dedicated by Lady Bird Johnson. Upon completion of Glen Canyon Dam on September 13, 1963, the Colorado River began to back up, no longer being diverted through the tunnels. The newly flooded Glen Canyon formed Lake Powell. 16 years elapsed before the lake fell to the 3,700 feet level, on June 22, 1980. The lake level fluctuates considerably depending on the seasonal snow runoff from the Rocky Mountains. The all-time highest water level was reached on July 14, 1983, during one of the heaviest Colorado River floods in recorded history, in part influenced by a strong El Niño event. The lake rose to 3,708.34 feet above sea level, with a water content of 25,757,086 acre-feet. Colorado River flows have been below average since 2000 as a result of the southwestern North American megadrought, leading to lower lake levels. In winter 2005, before the spring runoff, the lake reached its then lowest level since filling, an elevation of 3,555.10 feet above sea level, which was approximately 150 feet below the full pool. After 2005, the lake level slowly rebounded, although it has not filled completely since then. Summer 2011 saw the third largest June and the second largest July runoff since the closure of Glen Canyon Dam, and the water level peaked at nearly 3,661 feet, 77% of capacity, on July 30th. However, water years 2012 and 2013 were, respectively, the third and fourth lowest runoff years recorded on the Colorado River. By April 9, 2014, the lake level had fallen to 3,574.31 feet, largely erasing the gains made in 2011. Colorado River levels returned to normal during water years 2014 and 2015, pushing the lake to 3,606 feet by the end of the water year 2015. The Bureau of Reclamation 2014 reduced the Lake Powell release from 8.23 to 7.48 million acre-feet, for the first time since the lake filled in 1980. This was done due to the equalization guideline, which stipulates that an approximately equal amount of water must be retained in both Lake Powell and Lake Mead in order to preserve hydropower generation capacity at both lakes. This resulted in Lake Mead declining to the lowest level on record since the 1930s. The long-term water level decline continued, forcing an even Canyon National Recreation Area draws more than 2 million visitors annually. Recreational activities include boating, fishing, water skiing, jet skiing, and hiking. Prepared campgrounds can be found at each marina, but many visitors choose to rent a houseboat or bring their own camping equipment, find a secluded spot somewhere in the canyons, and make their own camp. There are no restrictions on where visitors can stay. The Castle Rock Cut is one of the most important navigational channels in the lake. It was blasted as early as the 1970s to allow boaters to bypass the winding canyons between the Glen Canyon Dam and reaches of Lake Powell further upstream, saving, on average, 1 hour of travel time. The cut has been deepened several times since then to allow the use of the channel during droughts. During the protracted 21st century drought, however, the lake has dropped so quickly on several occasions that the cut dried up during the summer tourist season, most recently in 2013. Continued deepening of the Castle Rock Cut has been criticized for its high cost, but boaters and the National Park Service argue that it improves safety, saves millions of dollars in fuel, and improves emergency response time. In September 2021, the level of Lake Powell was 45 feet below the bottom of the Castle Rock Cut. Currently, most marinas on the lake don't have automatic identification system monitoring stations that transmit boat positions to the ACE websites for the boating community. A substantial number of vessels on the lake do not have ACE transponders, as there currently are no mandatory requirements for ACE usage for this body of water. Extra precautions must be taken with respect to boating safety, as the fractal nature of the lake's hydrologic surface area can allow vessels with limited charting equipment to become easily lost. The burying of human and pet waste in Glen Canyon National Recreation Area is prohibited. Anyone who camps farther than a quarter of a mile from a marina must bring a portable toilet. Pet waste must also be packed out. The southwestern end of Lake Powell in Arizona can be accessed via US Route 89 and State Route 98. State Route 95 and State Route 276 lead to the northeastern end of the lake in Utah. Emergency release of water from the Flaming Gorge Reservoir in July 2021. And by April 22, 2022, Lake Powell was at 3,522.24 feet in elevation, just 22.88% of capacity. This marks the lowest water level for Lake Powell since it was filled in 1963. Glen Canyon National Recreation Area draws more than 2 million visitors annually.